Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Flesh and Blood and Bone podcast. I'm Kyra. I'm here with my dad, Tony.
I'm Tony.
That's Tony. And today we're going to talk about the Blob. Then we go to this car scene. It's the next one, I think.
Scott, cut it out. I told you.
And this guy's a fucking asshole.
Oh, Paul. Paul, yeah.
Paul is not his character name, though. What's his character name again?
I don't
The
remember.
guy, the dickhead.
He's so good.
The dickhead guy that has all the booze in the back of his car. What the fuck?
He's in RoboCop and he's like gets all melted.
Oh, he is?
Yeah,
I didn't know
he's
this.
a great actor.
Here we go.
Paul McCrane.
McCrane.
And then Erica Leniak is the girl in the car.
So what's
She was in E.T. She was the little girl that Elliot liked with all the frogs around her.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. She was very nice too.
She has a nice vibe.
So we did a puppet torso of her that was her real face caving in. Then we did one that was already caved in and had sockets in it for tentacles to fit into. And then the Blob crew built these tentacles that slid through our tubes that Mark Satrakian did these mechanisms where all the sections inside the tentacle were clear acrylic. Mm-hmm. And then there was this translucent skin over top of that.
Jesus Christ.
So you could see through it, and there was depth to it. There was translucency to it, and they painted veins on that. And then we slimed the whole thing up. That's when it actually is like coming towards him, and all the tendrils are shooting out.
Now when that's shot, like, because that's hard to do, tentacles coming out of something and wrapping around him, is that in reverse?
Well, no, because if you watch it, the tentacles come up and out.
And then
they change angles.
Oh, those sneaky.
They change camera angles, but they also changed the angle that the car and the camera were at and tipped it. So literally all they had to do was dump a bucket of slime onto Rick's face and just obliterate his face.
So this is another instance of basically the Blob coming from the inside out. Like has come into the person.
Right. The tentacles wrapping around were reverse. And then that face, first face you see caves in and blood comes out. And then the next face has the sculpted look with the area for the tentacles to fit through some openings.
Right.
And then you have the bucket of slime poured on his head.
That just goes right onto his head. It's crazy. That slime looked thick.
Yeah, it was. It was super thick.
So we get to the kitchen sink scene. Now I have BTS footage of them testing out some shots of the kitchen sink. The part where the hands and legs are going through the garbage disposal. And these silly little gooses are so smart. You're so smart. The way that you cheated this whole scene.
Well, it's two different crews doing this. The whole part where the Blob comes out of the sink and shoots on him was 2 layers of blob creature. There was the main one, and then there was another layer that came over that, and that was done in reverse, but that was all the Blob crew. They did all that setup, and then once he's in the sink and getting sucked into the drain, we did a thing where we had arms and legs all sticking out of the hole at the same time. And we had a mix of real and fake, and we took it was a kid's toy. I thought it was sort of like a Lazy Susan, and you sat on it, and you held a handle, and you spun around this center post. And we're like, well, that's...
Oh, I know those.
I don't know what it's called.
I have no idea.
We call it the spin and barf.
Really great.
And Christian Wabshaw was, I think, one of the arms. He was our runner. And then we had someone else was puppeteering each one of the legs, because we had a leg that was real looking, normal, and the ankle bent. And then we had a replacement for that where once the Blob's really pulling it in, it's all bloated. And we had a shoe that was on it that you pull off just with monofilament.
That's crazy.
And then the bloated foot, we were able to like actually suck, because it was full of air, we were able to like sort of suck it down into the hole.
That's why that looks so good, because I'm like, how did they do that? A rubber sink?
No, the sink was metal.
What?
So it gave us something to work against, and then we could also shoot blood up while it was all happening. So we were able to really control it. It's just
That's crazy.
the people underneath it on the spin and barf got soaked in blood while they're going around.
Oh my
while
God.
they're puppeteering or being a hand going in.
That's amazing.
So, again, it's what you don't see right out of frame that makes all the difference. In the
Yeah. That's a crazy shot. The foot, the shoe coming off. That's shot frontwards.
Yeah, just monofilament.
Just some fishing line, and
And
then
then the blob coming out is reverse miniature.
that's
And then there's
crazy.
foam latex giant tentacles that Lyle's guys did. And then it traveling on the ceiling is upside down, obviously, and miniature as well.
Whoa.
It's miniature most of the time just so that it was easier to control.
Yeah, because otherwise you have to make that thing so huge.
And it was too heavy.
In the freezer!
We have to go through the phone booth scene. So this is nuts. She's scared. She's calling the sheriff, and what's happening? Then the blob starts to come over the edges of the
These
telephone
were
booth.
literally just blob quilts being lowered over the side of the real telephone booth.
That's gross.
Mark Irwin was the cinematographer and just lit everything.
So beautifully.
Yeah. And then here he's trying to backlight it so you got a sense of depth to it. And then we took that same concept and then did a water tank that replaced the back wall of the phone booth. And we put the same fabric in it so it was all billowy and had the veins moving and all that. And then put some milk in it to sort of match the translucence.
What do you
See
mean
the
this is a
depth?
freaking water tank? How's
That's a
she
water
in there?
tank.
But how's she right there?
It's literally just an aquarium with a phone booth pushed up against it. The aquarium
Really?
this big, and I'm standing in it holding a puppet.
That's
of
crazy.
a head and shoulders, and I'm just swinging it by the window.
And you put some milk in there?
Got milk?
And we put milk so there was like some depth to it, and
I
you
like
couldn't
that.
see to the back. Bill Sturgeon did the animatronics, and he's making the jaw distend. One of the eyes sinks in, and I think both the eyes roll up.
Yeah,
same
that's
time.
fucked up. Yeah, I
So-
love a good jaw eye action.
And then the face is foam latex, so I could push it against the glass and like smash his nose against it while he was sort of just sliding by. All the rest of it is like blob quilts through the bottom. And then when it's time to blow it, we had a miniature phone booth with Candy Clark. And then
That's
we had a full-size Candy Clark in a full-size phone booth, and they put the blob stuff on the sides. And they shot 4 air mortars and literally just imploded everything on the dummy. And the dummy was jointed, so it reacts.
like a person.
Yeah,
Her,
they had-
her
they had
whole
weights
head
in it.
comes off.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What the hell?
It was really straightforward, and it's super effective.
So
But
straightforward.
there's a nice build to
Yeah.
the payoff. So the explosion being so explosive is really great.
It's so good. I love it. And I had no idea that that was miniature when I first watched it or watched it again until I was going over the scene with my dad. Also, I'd just like to point out when phones were rotary, as they were not in my era of growing up, I always say it'd take forever to call 911. And this is what happens in the telephone booth. It's just taking forever to dial 911. That shit's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's why she exploded.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, but the sheriff was already dead. So never mind. Not much help.
Yeah. Nobody's going to answer.
Yes, yes. And then we get to the infamous movie
little boy?
theater. Yes. Well, first we get to the movie theater scene. Let's see the yo-yo guy.
And it's just a reveal, and he's already been blobbed.
Been blobbed. Got
We
blobbed.
see him getting blobbed from the POV of the blob, so you don't see anything happening. And then there's this reveal. And we had his eyes being pulled to the side. Like there was all this tension in his face pulling him up.
So the yo-yo was kind of your guys' idea?
Well, no, they said that it would be the projectionist in the ceiling. And we're like, it'd be funny if you saw the yo-yo.
Yeah, but like the yo-yo, but
I don't remember.
whoever, whatever, credit goes wherever credit goes. But that's a great idea. That's a great reveal as the yo-yo. Establishing that, and then that's what brings us back. What a great cut to the theater scene with everybody
Yeah.
screaming.
That's Chuck Russell, the director.
Oh my God, Chuck put himself in. I would do that.
And I think that's
That's rad.
Josh McLaughlin, the first AD.
Oh my God, that's so
In front of
funny. Okay, now Shawnee's coming to the rescue. She comes into the theater. People are running out. How you do that? How do they do that?
Just stunt guys on wires, and then there were little people, puppets in a miniature of the Blob. They built a miniature of the theater, and Mike Fink figured out this system where the miniatures could all be replicated, like all the lights flashing and all that. He had it all sequencing, and it matched what was happening in the full-size set.
Whoa.
So you could cut between the two, and everything totally worked.
That was my question, because when you have lightning, I'm like, you better
Yeah.
just hope you get a take where the next one is same. The lightning's either not on or
No,
off.
Mike Fink had it all dialed in, and you could
rad.
cut from one thing
To
to
the
the other.
next.
And in the miniature set, they would do things where tentacle would come down and pick up a body, or the body's already in a tentacle, and it was just mechanical legs, and the tentacles being pulled up into this bigger
That's
pile of
so
goo.
cool. We're going to go through this movie theater scene, and I just want to put a warning for anybody who has, like, epilepsy or anything like that. It's pretty flashy, so flash warning for anybody who needs that. Okay, and then she falls to the ground, and lo and behold, it's my mother dead on the floor. And I think she even says Cindy.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God! So
Yeah.
they gave Cynthia her actual name, Cindy, for this scene. I love that. And she rolls her backwards, and half her face is freaking dissolved, and she's scared. Now, I love the backstory of this because you had to build a fake dead body of Mom.
Yeah.
How is that?
Fine. I mean,
Oh, okay.
you know, we made a dummy of her, and then did a clay pour of her head, normal. And then I think Brian Wade sculpted it, stretched out. And it was just the face. It was just half the face because Chuck wanted it to look normal. And you rolled it over, and it was a reveal of something horrible on the other side. And she obviously couldn't be alive.
Right.
Kind of a thing.
A good reveal.
So that was the idea behind it. And then we had that, ready to go for a while. And when we took it in, it was an actual real movie theater that they shot the stuff at in downtown Los Angeles. But it was being renovated so we could mess it up. I was using fabric for all the stretchy stuff. So I pulled into an alley next to the theater, and opened the trunk, and I had a body in the car
My dead mom.
with a trash bag on the head.
You put a trash bag over just her head?
Yeah, so that it wasn't, you couldn't see what it was.
Yeah, but it's her whole body. You already got a dead body, dude.
It's
Put a bag over
melted.
the whole thing.
We were protecting her meltedness. So I walked into the theater through the side door and unloaded it. And then I think I had to go move my car. And by the time I parked my car and got back in, I was super gluing the tendrils from her face into the carpeting so that they could stretch when that face got turned over. And somebody said, "Tony, there's a guy here who wants to talk to you."
And who was that?
And I looked up, and it was a police officer. And somebody who had an apartment over the alley had seen some creepy guy pull a body out of his trunk
With a
and
trash bag over her head.
and take it into this theater that had been shut down, and called the police. So
Rad.
the police showed up, and they wanted to know what was going on. And I had to show them the body, and they thought it was hilarious and said, "Have a good day," and that was it. But
Did you show them actual Mom and you were like, "Here, she's alive.
No,
I
she
did
wasn't
not
there.
murder her." Oh, so
It was just me and the dead body, and all
Love
the
that.
stunt people and Shawnee.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, so we got that shot, cut her tendrils out of the carpet, and
Carried on.
Party on, Wayne! Party on, Garth. It's Wayne's World! Wayne's World!
back into the car, and went back to the shop.
What did you do with her fake dead body after this movie?
Well, we had to hold on to everything in case there were reshoots. So
Okay.
everything gets sort of like put away and like cataloged.
Where is she now?
It didn't last. That's 30 years.
Yeah, that makes
ago.
sense. That's
Nothing-
older than me. My mom's fake dead body is older than me.
I have Shawnee's sweater.
He does have Shawnee's sweater.
I had
and-
Donovan's shirt, and your mom had Shawnee's sweater.
Where's Donovan's shirt?
I think it got ruined somehow. I don't remember what happened to it.
We're so sorry, Donovan. How did you get to sneak away with that?
We asked for it afterwards. They were doing a wardrobe sale.
I'm gonna do that on every movie I've ever worked on.
And I was like, that'd be kind of funny if we had those, so we got them.
That should be in a museum.
The Blob Museum. That's all it has left in
I
it.
will. I'll start one.
That and eyeballs from some of the melty puppets.
Exactly. And then we'll just fill it with Jell-O.
There you go.
Crazy. I just love that story because you tend to get the police or FBI called on you sometimes. And this is one of those times.
Yeah.
Except it was your own soon-to-be wife. Amazing.
I think this was the first time I had the police. No, it wasn't.
Oh,
actually.
Mom said something about, like, you made a point to put popcorn in it because you thought it would be funny.
Yeah. Well, I figured she was eating popcorn.
She was eating popcorn. That was her backstory.
And some stuck in her face.
So they go through the movie theater. Shawnee gets the kids, and they go into the sewer. And we find out, it's an atomic weapon, whatever. So they're in the sewer, and the little kid gets dragged down by the blob. This is all a set.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Craig
they did
Stearns
it before.
Did this amazing set that held water, and they were able to like warm the water up.
It wasn't cold?
No,
Look
great.
at you guys.
It was great. So, because they had little kids in it, they had to swim and
That's
go under and all
true.
that. So they were very conscientious.
I will
about-
say I do love this movie because it kills a kid. I
Yeah,
love
it's one
that.
of those few times where they actually do it and get away with it.
There's that infamous picture that I know of you while you're puppeting the half-dissolved kid.
I think I was setting up.
Up.
Yeah, and it was a stunt guy named Bobby Porter.
It's a stunt guy that's the kid. So
Yeah.
it's not a puppet.
No,
It's a stunt guy coming out of the water and then is somebody dragging him with a wire.
yeah, that's why I was a stunt guy.
I see. So you were basically setting him to look the way that he did before
He
they
wore
rolled.
a full suit from the waist up. That was foam.
Oh my goodness.
And then he was on a ratchet. He was on a thing that could pull him down, and then he was also on a ratchet that could pull him back, so that he could have a very violent.
2 ratchets. It is very
Oh.
violent.
He could fight his way while he's getting forcibly pulled, and then disappear into the water.
Crazy.
And then when he comes up, we had all these tendrils that again were fabric that were attached to this platform underneath him.
Oh.
So he just had to stand up and stretch his arms out, and he would extend all this webbing, and it would look like his skin and stuff was melting.
dissolving.
Yeah.
That's pretty nuts. That's a lot to like set up before you're filling with water, and the water's all cloudy, so you can't see fuck shit in there.
Yeah. And then he gets yanked right back down as soon as he comes up.
It's pretty great, and it looks terrifying. And then the blob comes up. It's great.
And that's just giant blob quilts. And then this is obviously composited, and that's a miniature blob element composited with
Real footage.
real people. Yeah.
So she has to go back into the water and find a different exit. And she somehow runs directly into Kevin Dillon.
Yeah.
How was Shawnee?
Shawnee was amazing.
Wow.
Super, super cool. She had to ride on the back of Kevin's motorcycle, and they were going to do a stunt where it looped around the blob. She had to come in. We did a full body cast of her like this so that we could make a super lightweight version of her to put behind the stunt guy so he could do the loop.
Whoa.
So we had her in the shop like this, sitting on a table like forever.
That's hilarious. I had no idea. When I watched that too the other day, I was like, how the fuck this guy's doing a loop-de-loop? This isn't real.
Yeah.
Like, what?
They did everything for real.
And
It
then
was
they eat
designed so that this guy from Cirque du Soleil or wherever could do his whole thing, and it just didn't work.
It's a great idea, though.
Yeah, but editorially, they still made it work.
They still made it seem like he went pretty high up on there.
Yeah.
So Kevin goes full throttle on the blob's ass and is like, let me run this car into it. That didn't work out. That's a miniature?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then we did the little soldiers that were melted on the...
Oh, yeah, when she comes out.
Actually, the very first one you see with the flickering light in it,
Yeah.
that's James Karen from Return of the Living Dead. We used his life cast and sculpted him all
Oh,
stretched
amazing.
out and melted.
This
And then-
guy?
No.
No.
This guy that she turns over, his name is Noble Craig. And he was in the Vietnam War and lost some limbs. And he was comfortable with us making fake limbs that could be stretched apart.
Oh.
he no longer has limbs. And then he could actually do the whole scene and say, kill me, you know.
That's crazy.
Instead of doing a puppet. And I'd met him, I think because he had done Poltergeist 2, and I'd met him over at Boss Film, and just the nicest guy. And I was like, he'd be great to use. And you know,
wow.
He had a very military look to him. So he went to Abbeville, and we shot this part in Abbeville.
And that's so great that he was like, utilize that I don't have limbs.
Yeah. And he was a really good actor too. So you're very, it's a very empathetic
Oh my gosh. And he fought in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then Kevin gets out of the...
So while he's upside down in the truck, you're supposed to see the blob all around it.
Oh.
And you're supposed to see
faces.
That
would have been rad.
The bodies going...
In theory, you could have done it because you had already done it. It was just a matter of fact of the water tank cracking.
Yeah, we were ready to shoot it, and they were filling the tank, and it cracked.
Damn it.
So it never happened.
Oh, and then
we were hoping that they'd come back to it, but there was just never enough time. So
sad day. It would have been rad because it would have been a nice callback, and the mythology would have still been in line, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you'd have another creepy
hand
thing to look at.
Yeah.
The Reverend gets blasted by the fire, and he gets burned, so we did a fresh burn on him.
Rad.
They take him inside the building, and they're trying to help him, and they're barricading. It's the town hall, basically. They're barricading town hall. The blob is coming in through like the cracks in the walls and whatever, and under the doors. Shawnee figures out the whole fire extinguisher thing. Paul McCrane puts a bookcase up. Tentacles break through the bookcase, wrap around his waist, and then break him in half.
Ew, backwards.
And pull him out. And it was something I always wanted to do. It's basically Paul McCrane sitting on a slide with fake legs below his.
Yeah.
And then all we had to do was time out the actual pull through so he could lay down and the legs we would pull up. So at the same time, and they would meet.
How do you pull them up?
Through. They were on cables.
Like monofilament, or they're
no,
too
they were
heavy?
On cables that went through them. They pull a lever and the cable.
Ooh, fancy! You have a lot of things.
So we just had to make sure we didn't kick him in the head.
Great.
And that timing was good. So he came to the shop and we practiced a bunch of times.
Pull him in.
I like that. That's good.
And then in front of where the tentacles came out to wrap around him, we put a bunch of books so they could get knocked out. So you had a lot of movement happening. So you had the books falling, then you realized there were tentacles, then they're all of a sudden around him. And then it's sort of a fight, and he gets basically broken in half.
I just want to see if there's a good sound effect in there. Oh, yeah.
And the way it's framed, too, you can see behind the bookcase that there's nothing there, but we just sort of masked just what we needed to.
Right.
So that...
Just out of frame. You're right there.
Yeah. So,
it's pretty good.
It was basically like a magic trick kind of thing.
You and your magic tricks. That's your whole job. Also, I love a good spine snap.
Del Close, who plays the Reverend, he's in a burn makeup. There's like a fresh burn.
Yeah.
And then we see him again in the very end of the movie, and everything's healed.
Yeah.
And he's the potential lead into a possible sequel.
And it was a perfect lead up to a sequel, and we don't have one. We never got one.
I know you had the crazy Reverend. And
it was like this random character that kind of didn't even really need to be there.
Yeah. And that was Del Close. He's a very famous comedian. He trained a lot of comedians.
Wow.
Second City and Chicago. And this was like a very dramatic role for him, which I think he thought was really fun because he doesn't usually get to do that. And he would practice in our shop just doing big speeches off of the steps into our foam room and stuff like that.
Right.
And he was like captivating, actually. He was really, really great.
And then no sequel?
No, we did that shot, and the shot is actually a fake hand.
Oh.
Holding a jar with the blob in it, and then there's a wire that goes up through the hand.
And moves.
That's got a corkscrew shape to the end of it, and it's just being rotated. It's pulling the blob around inside the jar.
Rad!
And for whatever reason, that was composited in front of Del Close's face instead of being used in front of his face, which was the whole idea, was you could have something alive in this jar.
and
have
show
nothing.
And they
touching
said,
it.
nah.
And they shot it as a separate element and composited.
I don't like that.
But I don't remember why that decision was made. But that's sort of the last image you see of it. And then ever since then, I mean, Rob Zombie tried to do a remake, and Scott Rudin tried to do a remake.
Give it to me.
Yeah, that'd be fun, actually.
Give it to me, whoever owns the rights.
And every 5-10 years, they talk about redoing it or doing a sequel. And
I think it should be a sequel because I don't think there's any redoing this.
there's no need to retell
There's
that story.
no need. It's like we could pick it up in today's day and age. And the fact that, and this one, the Blob is made for biological warfare is so in the time of now. Like, it's still relevant. You could totally just carry on that timeline, but, you know, the Blob's been in a jar for X amount of time, and now we're here in whatever day and age you want to set it. You could set it in the early 2000s. You could set it in now.
It leaves an open door and nothing happened.
It's really cool to, like, hear about. That's a great movie. What a great first, like, thing to helm.
Yeah.
How did you feel afterwards? I heard that, like, or I read that the reception, like, it didn't necessarily technically do well at the box office.
No.
But, and it's interesting because, like, I read some of, like, the reviews from, like, years and years and years ago of, like, when it first came out and all this stuff, and they're like, we didn't need to do it. And Leonard Maltin said something, like, bagging on it, which is funny because now I'm friends with his daughter, Jessie, and she wants us to go on their podcast.
That'd be fun.
And I'm like, well, I'm going to be like, why did you dog the Blob remake? It's perfect. But then it's like kind of found this love from people who are appreciating it for what it was. Well, it is like,
well, it's like Hocus Pocus. They released it, like they released the Blob in August. It's like it's a horror movie.
Yeah, released it on October.
They should wait.
Yeah. So how did you feel afterwards, and like did that give you a lot of confidence after having helmed a lot of people?
Yeah, I realized that running a shop could be really fun, and you could have a good time doing cool stuff, and I wanted to keep doing it. So once we came back from our honeymoon, it was like, oh, let's keep this going.
Yeah,
and
let's keep this party going.
Let's light this candle, huh?
Because your mom was the makeup effects coordinator.
Yes.
Ran the office, and I ran the shop.
Right, we have to give
the art side of it. So it was like, you know, it was like you had the art. You had the art side and you had the smart side.
Arts and smarts and no farts.
And then we realized that we worked well together too. So it's like, all right, well, let's keep going. And then we decided to start a company. They
had a baby, and it wasn't my older brother. It was Alterian Studios, which is the makeup effects studio we're sitting in right now to record this podcast. What was your next big thing after that?
It was little stuff like right off the start. I'd have to take a look.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to tell the people about the Blob, about your life, about your honeymoon, about your dead fiance?
No, we had a good time, and our honeymoon was spent recovering from the chaos that was this show. But it was a fun chaos, and our crew was awesome, and we're still friends with, I think, all of them, and we still work together. I mean, we made some really good friends, and they're all talented as well as fun, great humans, and couldn't ask for anything better, really.
I love that. We'll wrap that up. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.